Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Shiva Ayadure, wherever you are. We know we have a global audience. Many of you know that we do regular videos on topics that have to do with the areas of truth, freedom, and health. To know more about that, you can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, truthfreedomhealth.com. And you also know that I'm running for U.S. president in the 2024 elections as an independent candidate. Our entire focus in running for president is to ensure that the people of America, in my view, who are the tip of the spear of the movement for freedom, at least they should be based on the Bill of Rights, have a real option to ensure that America remains and advances on this fundamental Bill of Rights. Right now, all of that is under threat because of the left and the right, Democrats and Republicans, who have destroyed truth, freedom, and health. And today's conversation, I'm going to, first of all, discuss a little bit of background of what I've discovered as one of the most central issues that is facing the American people, having to do with health. And we're going to share with you a graph that's going to make it absolutely clear how both parties, both wings of the establishment, have destroyed the health of the American public. So we'll go into that. We'll also offer you the real solution to really win back truth, freedom, health for the American people, and for that matter, for the world. And as a part of that solution, when we discuss that solution, there are a number of people who have this illusion that you have to choose the lesser of two evils. And that recurrent, very, very fundamentally damaging and wrong thinking is what has gotten us into this position. We're going to discuss that, how the lesser of two evils has gotten us into this position. And in that context, we're going to talk specifically about what's going on right now in the United States, of the fact that, about 15 years ago, people thought Obama was their hope. That was the saying. Then they went to Trump, right? Lock her up, Trump. And now the establishment is pushing other people, like noteworthy is Kennedy. So they want to use different names in a theatrical sense to move, in this case, let's say conservatives. 50% of conservatives voted for Obama, and those same conservatives voted for Trump, and they're trying to bring him over to this other fool called Kennedy. And this is this theatrics that's taking place, and we're going to talk about that. As many of you know, that because of the shadow banning that takes place on big tech, many of you know that I was the one who discovered that the government has the backdoor portal into most of social media companies. I don't really want to support my being able to, advance their cause, because they use our views and then they understand through predictive analytics who my followers are. So I don't want to support that. So if you want to continue watching this video, which I hope you do, join me in the description of the post. There's a link, or you can go to vashiva.com, and that's our platform run out of your support, and we will continue this video there. So please go there and join me to really understand the fact that there are no more shortcuts. We have to build the movement for truth, freedom, health. I'll see you there shortly. I'll take a quick pause and we'll come there shortly. All right, everyone. Hello, this is Dr. Shiva Ayadure. As many of you know, today's talk is going to be about Trump or Kennedy, that there are no shortcuts. And some of you coming to this video on our platform here at VA Shiva are coming in from other social media sites where I just posted a small version of this, and I encourage you to come over here because we can talk in a much more uncensored way. So welcome. Again, as I stated before, this is Dr. Shiva Ayadure. I'm the founder of the Movement for Truth, Freedom, Health, which is a global educational movement, which is educating people on the science of systems and how you can really start thinking beyond left and right. We're a community, but most importantly, our goal is to educate leaders so they stand up on their own 2 feet and they don't look above to the false gods, but they look below and they help advance movements. As a part of that, we've made a very, very important decision that I'm going to be running for President of the United States in 2024 to offer the people of the United States and the world a real choice, because we're at a very, very devastating and a very crucial point in world history. And as a part of that, I want to point to this graph here, okay? And this graph, in my view, really says it all. And whether you're left or right, or you supported some candidate before, or you don't know who to support, I want you to really look at this graph. And why is this graph important? First of all, this is not some graph put out by some quote unquote, conspiracy theorists or people with an agenda. This is actually put out by the establishment, by an organization called Kaiser Permanente. And what this graph shows, if you look at it carefully, and I'll go into the basics of it, on the x-axis, it goes from 1980 all the way to the present, around 2020, okay? That's when the graph was done. I'm sure there may be an updated version, but the important trend is what's important. On the y-axis, it's age, years. And what is this graph is plotting is the life expectancy rate of human beings in different societies, in different nations, industrialized nations. Some people think this graph is about the death rates. It isn't. Very different. It is the life expectancy rate. So at a point in time for a particular year, the calculation is determining for that year. So if you're 1980 in, let's say, Japan, which is one of the top gray lines, what is the expected life expectancy in Japan at that point? And you can see that there are individual gray lines. Each gray line represents over time how the life expectancy is changing in that country. So as you go left to right from 1980 to 2020, you can see that the life expectancy, if you follow one of those gray lines, is jagged, but it's moving up approximately, let's say, 60-degree angle, okay? When you take all those gray lines, including the United States, which is in red, but all those nations, and you average them for any data point on a year, you get that solid dark gray line that I'm pointing to there, okay? It's that solid dark gray line. So that solid dark gray line is the average of the life expectancy rates each year plotted, okay? The United States has the highest GDP in the world, is the, quote, most advanced economy in the world, the richest economy with all these resources. Notice this incredible, dramatic red line here, which represents the life expectancy rate and the trend of where it's going. Now, when first people look at this graph, they say, oh my God, this is COVID. And we'll talk about that. People always think it's a singular thing, COVID. Well, the drop actually occurs in that graph starting in 2014 and in 2019. And what's important to remember here is this is not a death rate graph. It is a life expectancy graph, okay? So it's important to recognize that that little fluctuation is not the whole story. I suggest everyone look at that red line and trace it all the way back to the beginning, go to 1980. And what you will see at 1980, there's a little slope on that red line up until about 1984 approximately. And it is in parallel to what the gray line, the dark gray line is, which means during that short period, 1980 to 84, the US was matching the life expectancy rate of the other industrialized nations. Okay, so that's pretty good. But around 1984, interesting enough, 1984, you see the red line goes in a completely different direction. While all the other nations are increasing, we start growing in a life expectancy rate that is not coincident with those other nations. So what happened? And who did this? Who is responsible for this? But fundamentally, the life expectancy rate of the most quote unquote powerful economy on the earth is going at a completely different direction than all the other industrialized nations. And not only does this do it just one point, it keeps going and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. If you look between 1980 to today, who were the people in power? Who were the people managing this country? Because ultimately, when you get an outcome like this, I've run many companies, and if I see a data outcome like this, you have to say, who are you going to hold responsible? Well, the people we hold responsible, more specifically, the policies, is what we need to hold responsible. And is it just anti-vax or vax? Is it just one thing? Because people are right now diverted to the pandemic and the vax. That's just one issue. And why do I say this? I say this because as a system scientist, which is what I am, recognized as one of the leading system scientists in the world, and I say that not to make a perfunctory statement, but it's because of the deeds and the work that I've done over the last many 50 years. Email was a system that I created. Cytosolve is a system that I created. Much of my work, be it at MIT across those 4 degrees, has always been based on system science. What is system science? System science recognizes that the number of parts of a system does not equal the complexity. It is the interconnections between those parts. So for example, I could give you 5 marbles and some string. One person may connect those marbles one after the other. Okay, and that would be a linear little beads. Someone may take all the 5 marbles and interconnect them to each other, and you would get a very complex structure. You see, it is the interconnections between things that determines complexity that leads us to truth. So please understand that. So when you say, oh my God, the vaccines, that's a part of it. But it's a much more complex situation here. This has been going on for nearly 60 years. Who were the people coming up with the policies that gave rise to this? Was it the Democrats? Ooh, blame them. Was it the Republicans? Blame them. No, it was both of them. It was the Democrats and Republican politicians. Well, who backed them? Well, a whole bunch of very, very powerful people with lots of money, businesses. And who promoted them? Media companies. Who celebrated them in entertainment? Hollywood people. And who fueled them with information? Academics. You see, all of the priesthood, be it in academia, be it in media, be it in Hollywood, be it politically, all of these people should be fired. Every single one of them. The Kennedys, the Reagans, the Trumps, the Bidens, go down the list. The Tucker Carlsons, the CNNs, the Fox News, all of these people are responsible. This is a devastating result, this graph. So I don't care whether you're left or right. I want you to use your rational mind. Let go of your biases and look at this freaking graph. Just look at it. And it should get you really angry because it is the policies. And what were those policies? Were they just one issue? No. We sent people to fight in Vietnam in the 70s and Central America. We sent young men to fight. John Kennedy is the one who started all this. He's the one who blamed everyone as being communist. We got to go stop the communists. Vietnam, Cuba. It was under the Kennedy administration, they created tax havens for the wealthy. They gave big corporate tax breaks. And that policies, one of them among others, led to this. So you have soldiers coming back into society who have PTSD. One soldier who comes back to a neighborhood affects 100 people's lives. Stress. One of the biggest things that leads to this kind of life expectancy issues. Stress for their families, relationships, and that causes depression. Depression leads to downregulation of fundamental genes in the body. And I'm telling you this as a PhD in biology. You won't hear this from these other quote unquote candidates who know no science, no engineering, no biology. But when people are depressed, when they're anxious, you destroy their immune system, as we talked about yesterday. That's one factor. Is that all of it? No. Then you have the fact that during the 70s, you had the consolidation of science of the NSF and the NIH under the executive branch. And that led to corruption in science. All the great scientists stopped going into science because you had to be a butt kisser to make it in academia. 95% of the academics at all these institutions today are butt kissers. They're not really great scientists. They know how to kiss ass, write publications, wheedle their way through and get it in. Case in point, nearly 20 years ago, a researcher at University of Minnesota wrote a paper about a bogus theory about Alzheimer's. In fact, he photoshopped all of the images, which came out recently, about a year ago. And $3.2 billion went into his bogus theories. And all these academics remain quiet. So we never really solved Alzheimer's, but a lot of academics and a lot of educational institutions made billions of dollars. Who is holding them accountable? Nobody. That priesthood, all of them need to go. Our veterans aren't being taken care of. They affect their families. Academia does not put out truth anymore. Talk about media. Does media really do journalism anymore? When was the last time real journalism took place? Does CNN do journalism? Does Fucker Carlson do journalism? No. What they do is they do limited hangouts. They delay truth. They do entertainment. Rachel Maddow, after she was sued, admitted she's an entertainer. These people are entertainers, and they're all friends. Tucker Carlson's friends with Hunter Biden. He told people in October of 2020, hey, don't go too hard on him. Why? Because Tucker Carlson needed Hunter Biden to write a recommendation letter for his son to get into Georgetown. You see, they're all friends. So please stop being naive. So the media is compromised, academia is compromised, and the entire war machine takes advantage of working class people who are suffering and uses them, and they return back with stress. So you don't have real science. You have media lying to people. They don't tell the truth when it needs to be told. And you have another fundamental aspect, which is big agricultural companies and big pharma companies in collusion with Congress are feeding our young people garbage, sugar, sugar, and sugar, and more sugar. And in fact, you can't get any really good fruits and vegetables. I mean, when I was growing up, the vegetables and the fruits actually had a scent to them and smelled. None of these foods even smell anymore. They're not even food because they're not coming from local farms, seasonal fruits, from good, rich soil. The soil has been depleted. We don't have proper iodine and minerals in the soil. So whatever food people are getting is mineral deficient and vitamin deficient. But these same elites, like the Kennedys, who say, oh, I'm going to help the water, they eat beautiful foods in Malibu. He's from top, and we're supposed to believe them? No. It has to come from below. The future movement must come from below to solve this problem, because this problem that you're looking at in this graph was caused by all of them. So why would you go back to them for your solutions? So big pharma, big agriculture, and these people just talked about it. In fact, many of them created foundations, took your money. Oh, we're fighting. They haven't fought shit. Look at this graph. Well, whatever they were doing doesn't work. So they should be fired. All of these nonprofits who took your money saying they're fighting for good food, they're fighting for this, look at the results. You suck. You're fired. So you have the big pharma, the big ag, and in fact, big vitamin doesn't really solve the problem. They just want to keep selling you vitamin pills. They don't do real science because the science is compromised. So all they do is branded marketing. That's why when I invented Cytosolve, it was the reason I created was I wanted to get to truth to science, and we're doing that. We've had to do that on our own with very little funding. We created Systems Health to re-educate people on the integration of Eastern and Western medicine. We did it on our own. Imagine if we had gotten billions of dollars, what the world would be like. But the reality is, this is an insider's game. All of them have shit on their hands, so they all protect each other. That is a reality, ladies and gentlemen. So what's the solution? Well, the solution, as you see in this 6-circled little diagram, is you and building a bottoms-up movement. That is the solution. And before I go to that, let me just remind you that if you think that the lesser of two evils is going to work, oh, you're running for president, you're only going to get 1% of the vote. Some idiot put that on Twitter. Well, maybe you should use more than 1% of your brain, because that is the kind of thinking that got us to this. When people start using more than 1% of their neurons in their brain and realize the lesser of two evils is, like here, what Lucy keeps doing to Charlie Brown, okay? He keeps running up there thinking something's going to be different. That's the definition of insanity. Keeping doing the same thing, thinking you're going to get a different result. Look at these results with this graph. So yeah, if you think that way, guys like me will maybe get a little bit of votes. But it's not about the votes. It's about raising your consciousness. And in order to support that, over the last 50 years, part of my credentials are I created a system called Truth Freedom Health. You can go to truthfreedomhealth.com. There's a ticker below. Go there, because you will get the training of system science. You will get a community and people. So take advantage of that, because you will literally learn how to move beyond left and right. So what is the solution? Let's go back to our graph here. Not our graph, our solutions graph, right? It's very important to expose the problem, but it's also important to give the solution. So I always do both. So what's the solution? Well, it's a system solution. It's not any one thing. Well, first of all, What is our healthcare solution? Simple. Take care of your immune system. Strengthen the immune system. The immune system. The immune system is like the operating system of your whole body. Well, how do we do that? Well, I'm going to teach you how to do that. Do you have to pay me? No. Because our slogan is service is citizenship. We all have to serve our neighbors. We have to support each other. So every Thursdays in the town halls, the open houses I do, you come. The last Thursday, you can find it up online. We taught people how to strengthen their immune system. It's a very powerful educational program, free. You don't have to pay me thousands of dollars, absolutely free. I talk about the immune system, and I give you actually the foods. I actually talk about vitamins and supplements. Obviously, consult your doctor. That'll help you. Number one. Following, we're going to also talk about the environment. How do you really solve the environment? Well, we have to get, it's all local. We have to support our local farmers, eat local foods, and eat it on a budget. People like Donald Trump and Kennedy, they're eating pasture-raised, grass-fed, beautiful, organic, biodynamic, regenerative farming foods. Donald Trump doesn't just eat McDonald's all the way. That's all theater. Kennedy doesn't really care about you because he's had a big time to take a ton of money for his nonprofits, and these are the results he's delivered. Stop trusting him. The Kennedys are the last people you should trust. It was John Kennedy who created the 1962 Vaccination Act based on old science. It was his brother, Ted Kennedy, who then implemented the 1986 Vaccine Injury Program, which shielded pharma companies. And now you have this fool, Robert Kennedy, running around, who was pro-lockdown, go look at the videos, who wants to vaccinate everyone, who endorsed Hillary Clinton 3 times as early as 2016. And Hillary, we should call her Villery. Hillary Clinton is pro-Monsanto. She had one of the leaders of Monsanto run her campaign, and she's pro-vaccine mandates. And then in 2020, Robert F. Kennedy supported his nephew for U.S. Senate, who was rabidly pro-vaccine mandates. So you see, the establishment has gotten very clever because they know that you have become fat, dumb, and lazy and are not exercising your rights as Americans, which is a Bill of Rights. They know that you want to outsource your future one day to an Obama because he talks about hope and he has good lighting and he does a talk. The next day, Trump, Trump's a businessman. Great businessman, I'm going to vote for him. So a bunch of people over here voted for Obama, then go to Trump. Well, Trump is no longer there. I got to go now to Kennedy or DeSantis. You see, they got you moving around like, the little laser pointer on the wall and you're running around like stupid cats. And they know that they have degenerated you because of the graph I showed you earlier, because of all the unhealthy foods and the unhealthy processes and the stress and the complete subjugation of you as a human being, the suffering. They know they're just going to do this to you. And I will not allow that because I never forgot where I came from. I came from poor farmers in India and working class people in New Jersey. And because of all the knowledge I was afforded, I'm committed to fighting these bastards. They're evil. And the purpose of life is to fight evil. Now, how do we fight evil? Well, first of all, you have to raise your consciousness. You have to stop being that cat following the laser pointer. One day Obama, one day Trump. Now I'm going to jump in the bed with Kennedy. It's like a whore, jumping from bed to bed to bed. Is that what you want to be? Do you want to be a used whore? Do you want to be codependent? Or do you want to exercise your essence as a human being with other people, working people, and recognize that no one is going to talk about this graph except me and our movement and our campaign? Because this graph represents the suffering of American people. Kennedy doesn't give a fuck about your suffering. Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about your suffering. Obama doesn't give a fuck about your suffering. All of them are friends in back doors. Their children all hang out together. They all go to the same equestrian schools. They all know the same shops. They all get the same Fendi bags and the same set of lifestyle they live. And you're not part of it. Why are you looking to them? Why? Why aren't you looking to someone like me who came bottoms up, who's one of you? What is it in your brain that wants to take a shortcut? And I would argue with you that shortcut is coming from a responsive habit that has been done to you by the media. And it's time that you wake the fuck up. And that's a very important protocol that I'm recommending. That's an engineering protocol. Wake the fuck up. Now, how do you wake the fuck up? Well, you wake the fuck up by recognizing that you can't be jumping from bed to bed. You have to have principles. A human being without principles is not a human being. Our campaign, Shiva for President, the movement we created, Truth, Freedom, Health, is about going back to principles. If you want to have principles, then 1% of people with principles can change the world. 99% of people without principles will lead to this graph. So I encourage you to start using more than 1% of the neurons that God gave you, and recognize that we need to, first of all, recognize this recurrent process that elites have been doing. And the data is right here in this graph. Since 1980 to today, this is what you've gotten. The policies of supporting big pharma, supporting big corporations, creating tax havens, sending kids to war, the military-industrial complex, jabbing people, one-size-fits-all medicine. It's not any one thing. It's a systems problem. We need a systems approach. And you got no one better in the world than me, the guy who created the first email system, the guy who's got a bunch of degrees from MIT in system science. What better qualified person do you have? Robert Kennedy? This guy did heroin. He grew up with everything, a silver spoon handed to him. Donald Trump? Come on. Obama? Please start having some self-respect and dignity for yourself. There is no shortcut. The only way forward is to start working hard and build a bottoms-up movement. And history shows anytime working people did that, they got what they wanted in the 1800s and 1900s. And then the elites, knowing that these bottoms-up movements were coming up, they started branding all of them communists. And then another wing of the elites took over those unions. But between 1900 to 1950, there were vibrant bottoms-up movements, and the working people in the United States and the world had power. But after the 1950s till today, those movements were suckered in and destroyed, and you were given false gods. Elon Musk, the Kennedys, the Trumps, and so on. Jesse Jackson, Reagan, all these people, as the data shows, have fucked you. The issue is, do you want to keep getting screwed over? Or do you want to make a drastic change by saying, wait a minute, this guy worked his butt off. He came to the United States with nothing. He is one of us. So my recommendation is have some dignity. There are no shortcuts. And I'll be back shortly. John's going to play a quick video of our campaign video, which will share with you my journey. Who would have ever thought I'd be running for president of the United States of America? I was born a low caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working-class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors are blacks, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I wrote 50,000 lines of software code to create the world's first email system, and was awarded the first U.S. copyright for email, recognizing me as its official inventor at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I did that long before I ever came to MIT, revealing that big innovations can occur anytime, any place, by anybody. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion in both America and India, to have us fighting each other while they remained safe in their gated communities and in their playgrounds of Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard, and Silicon Valley. I'm a fighter. I fought racism and exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed when I saw working Americans as never before being duped by the establishment, and the not-so-obvious establishment. Across left and right, we were being sold out and made to forget why we came to America and why America existed. Lawyers, academics, billionaires, celebrities, and politicians, elites, Clintons, Kennedys, Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, black and white, have hijacked America. They printed trillions for their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism. They've transferred trillions to themselves, dividing black and white, fear-mongering, and fake science. Lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food, and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. one set of rules for them and another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage in putting everything on the line for you, who believes in you, not them, who has created a movement bottoms up for truth, freedom, health. I've exposed their lies at the right time, never waiting until it was popular. I've exposed their false gods who exist to lead you back to them. I've exposed their fake science of lockdowns and masking and provided you solutions to fight them and win and protect your immune system, saving millions. I exposed Fauci, galvanized the Fire Fauci campaign when others remained silent. When they stole our election, we sued the government and Twitter in our historic 2020 federal lawsuit, exposing in bare view the government and big tech censorship infrastructure, the unholy alliance between government and social media companies. Where was Elon and his grifters? They stood by the sidelines and did nothing. They did not use their megaphones to help us when it could have made a big difference. Now our movement grows for truth, freedom, health, independent of all of them. Every day, millions are learning the science of systems, the knowledge the elites do not want you to have, so you may learn how to think, stand up, and fight, independent of the establishment of left and right and their fake heroes. Now it's time for you to join the movement, to win back America, to win back truth, win back freedom, win back your health. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. This race is about you. This race is about truth, freedom, health versus power, profit, control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers, celebrities, billionaires, and chosen ones from above. We choose our heroes from below, from the rank and file, who do what is right at the right time, not when it's convenient and popular. They can never represent us. What America needs is a movement by the working people, for the working people, who are educated, organized, decentralized, and fight for independence from their systems of control. And that movement exists. It's ready for you. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we had one of us. It's time to win back truth, freedom, health, to win back America. Be part of this historic movement all the way to our victory on November 5th, 2024. If you're an American citizen, pledge your vote now for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the independent candidate for U.S. President. No matter where you live, you can be a part of this. Volunteer as little as 20 minutes a day. Don't delay. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I approve this message, paid for by Dr. Shiva for President. All right, everyone. So that is a video that we put together that really sort of encapsulates where I'm coming from, where we want to go, and how we want to involve everyone. This is our movement. And that is why when we did the title of this talk, Trump or Kennedy, no shortcuts. We can't do the same thing. Remember, as I said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, like Charlie Brown, going down that thing and thinking Lucy's not going to pick up that ball. It happens every time. So look at that graph again. If we can put up that graph, if you think that something's going to change by voting for one of these people from above, you're out of your mind. And if you think, oh my God, I got to do the lesser of two evils, you're out of your mind. Oh, Dr. Shiva's only going to get a little bit of vote. You're out of your mind. The issue is that we get on the ground and we start talking to our neighbors and we build our understanding of the scientific principles of how the world works. Truth, Freedom, Health is a program that you can learn all of this, and we've created that. But go to Shiva for President, volunteer, support what we're doing. What I'd like to do is every afternoon, I want to do a talk like this, at least definitely during the weekdays, but I'd like to take a call, okay? Maybe we'll take 3 or 4 calls. We'll see how it goes. But I'm going to give you my cell phone number, and you won't find any other presidential candidate giving you their cell phone number, but you can call me, okay? So the number, as John has, is 617-631-6874. And please call and ask me any question you want on what I'm specifically talking about here today, which has to do with the fact that we need to build a movement. We cannot be going from this fool to another fool, especially those people who are false gods. So again, you can call at 617-631-6874. Any question is fine, and we'll or a comment that you have to make, and I'll put you on the air. Given it's a cell phone, we don't have a complex call waiting structure. We actually have one. We'll get it going for the next talk. But please call anything you want to say, and if not, that's fine also. But fundamentally, what I want to make clear is that we have a huge opportunity in 2024. Why do we have that opportunity? Well, first of all, you have right before you someone who's been a warrior, who's been a fighter, who has the scientific training, the engineering training, the activism training, which you've never had before. I get on the ground, as you'll notice, we're going to go door to door to door to help people understand these concepts. And the concepts that I'm talking about, the solution in this diagram here, these 6-part is the healthcare is we have to strengthen our immune system. The government ain't going to do it. Well, we'll teach you how to do that. Number 2, we have to learn that food is medicine. That's really the environmental policy. What's the next one? Yeah. The bottom line with education is we got to really know truth from lies. Well, system science educates you on that. One of the Thursday open houses, I'll teach you the science of systems, the same stuff I used to teach at MIT. You come, you'll learn a lot, bring your kids. And the next thing, John, is innovation. What you really find out about innovation is as a 14-year-old, when I invented the first email system, I learned a lot about really the 7 secrets of innovation. And I want to share that for you and your families. But why is innovation important? Because innovation creates wealth. And the big lies that have been created is that innovation always comes from, again, above, from the big guys, from you have to go to MIT. I created email before I came to MIT. Or you have to be a Silicon Valley guy. But I have discovered these 7 secrets of innovation, which will teach people. Next, John. Governance. Bottom line with governance is we don't have any governance. All these people have got to go. Look at this graph. The real governance is you. How do you train to be a leader? How do you build a movement? Well, we'll teach you how to do that. There are some very important leadership principles, and we've created tools to support you. Next. The economy. The economy ultimately comes down to something very simple. It's called cash flow, input and output, profit and loss, and a balance sheet. 99% of I would say 90% of CEOs don't even know the difference between a cash flow statement, a P&L statement, and a balance sheet. Well, I will educate you on that. Why is it that there are people, immigrants, that come here with $5 in their bank account, getting off a boat, and they amass a lot of wealth? Because they've learned some fundamental principles. Why is it that the average American only has $400 in their savings account? And if anything happens, they're screwed. And it is that lack of financial stability, that lack of financial integrity that allows the government to just print money and make you slaves. And that's where this is going. And fundamentally, if you look at all of this, whether it's Kennedy or Trump or the Bidens or the Obamas or whoever you want to put in power, their next phase of digital slavery is to ensure that carbon tax credits get done. That's one thing. The scumbag Kennedy's a big supporter of that. Or they want digital, censorship, which is what Musk is doing in a nouveau way. People think he's their liberator. No, he still has a backdoor portal going. Or they want to hit you with centralized digital bank currencies. Or they want to make sure that you are denied any real sense of access to great food and health. So they have a multi-part strategy to enslave people, not only in the United States, but globally. And the way out of this is you. Knowledge is power. And I'll end with this. There's a very, very famous Indian, I do come from India, so I have a lot of these very interesting stories. There's a very interesting, the Indian system of religion has many of these gods, whether you believe in them or not, but they're different deities. One of the gods is a goddess called Lakshmi. Lakshmi is known as a goddess of wealth, right? So there are people who just go to temples and pray to Lakshmi, give me money, give me money, give me money. All right. And they rarely get that much money because they're just thinking you just pray and you got to do the work. But there's another goddess called Saraswati. Saraswati is a goddess of knowledge, education. And when you go get education, something interesting happens. The goddess Lakshmi is very, very jealous. She's a very jealous goddess. She's very jealous typically of Saraswati. So you go get educated, guess what? You automatically get wealth. That's why our slogan at Truth Freedom Health, you can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, is get educated or be enslaved. Well, now, as Justin Grimes, one of our warrior scholars, said, it's not only get educated or be enslaved, as John will put up the graph here, or die. It's get educated or be enslaved and die. And that's what they want. But there is a way out. You have in front of you someone who's spent his entire life studying health, his entire life studying system science, his entire life studying political systems. So we have put together the weapon, which is Truth, Freedom, Health. And we have created our campaign, which offers people a real alternative. And stop getting out of this mind-numbing, negative thinking, oh, I can't do anything. Oh, Shiva's only going to get 1% of the vote. I suggest you expand your spirit and your brain power and start using more than 1% of your brain and your heart, your cardiac cells. And anything is achievable. But the most important thing is you. So again, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, Shiva for President, and truthfreedomhealth.com, shivaforpresident.com. Be well, be the light. Thank you very much.